Hi everyone, and welcome to the Smartsheet webinar. We will just give everybody a moment to get into the session. And while we do that, I'm just going to put a quick poll up on the screen. So hopefully you should see that now. And the question is, what format or focus would you like to see for future user groups? And this is just to help us as we go about our planning for our 2021 APAC user group schedule. So if you can take a moment to let us know your preferences here, that'd be wonderful. Thank you very much. I can see lots of those coming through. We'll just give it another few seconds. Fantastic. Okay. I will close that off now. Thank you very much, everyone. I'll just put those up on the screen there so you can have a look at what others are saying. And it looks like we've got a pretty even split, which is great. So it gives us plenty to work with for our planning. Thank you. Okay, so let's move right into it. Hello, everybody. I am Laura Jenkins, and I'm the Senior Marketing Manager here at Smartsheet. I'm going to be your moderator for our session today. And once again, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to each of you for joining us for this is actually the last Australia and New Zealand virtual user group that we have in our schedule for 2020. Now we've got a slight change to our agenda today. So Diego Amelda from TAFE New South Wales is no longer able to join us. So instead today, you will be hearing from Radhika Bandari, who is the Senior Manager Student Operations at Western Sydney University. And she's going to be providing some insight into how they are using Smartsheet across the university for project management and to enable a lot of better collaboration across teams. So a huge thank you, Radhika, for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to your presentation. And before we hear from Radhika, our Vice President, Asia Pacific, Nigel Mendonça. Welcome, Nigel. Nigel will take the floor for a few moments and he's going to be telling you about our early adopter program. And then later in this session, we'll have Cicero, our Senior Global Product Readiness Manager, who's joining us again for another user group all the way from the US. Thank you, Cicero. Welcome. And for those of you who've been on some of our previous user group calls, you'll remember that Cicero has joined us before. So this time he's going to show you how to manage and share interactive calendars via a demo of our very easy to use calendar application. And personally, as someone who manages a marketing calendar, I can tell you that I'm a very big fan of Calendar app. So looking forward to your tips and tricks, Cicero. Just before we dig in, given this is a virtual user group, we would like to encourage you to be interactive. So you will see at the bottom of your screen that there's a panel for questions and answers. So please use it. Feel free to ask us anything at any time. We do have a team in the background who are on hand to answer all of your questions, and we'll try and get to as many as we can at the Q&A portions during each of our segments today. And if we don't get to them for any reason, we'll definitely follow up with you individually. So with all of that said, let's get started. So first up, over to you, Nigel.
Thank you, Laura, and welcome everyone. Really great to have you all take the time to join us today for, as Laura said, for our last Australia and New Zealand customer user group for 2020. How time flies, hey? So look, yeah, today we think we've got a really good lineup in the program. So first of all, just to reiterate what Laura said, I'd like to say a big thank you to Radhika from Western Sydney Uni for agreeing to share her story with the group today. And it was a little bit of late notice as well, because we had a schedule change with our previous customer unavailable to join us. So really appreciate you stepping in, Radhika, and I know that you're full of enthusiasm about Smartsheet. So really looking forward to hearing more about the ways Smartsheet has assisted Western Sydney Uni and your large teams become more agile, and especially how that's taken off across different departments within the uni. As Laura said, we've got Cicero. Always great to have Cicero, who's full of beans, join us and provide some great coverage of our calendar application, which is an extremely popular solution amongst many of our customers. So I'm sure you'll get some good value out of that. Now, hopefully a number of you were able to join us at our Engage APAC Virtual Customer Conference back in October. If you did miss it for any reason, or you would like to catch up on any of the content, just a reminder that all of that content is available via our Engage APAC webpage. You should be able to see that URL up on the screen now, and all of the sessions from our APAC event, as well as from our global event, with lots and lots of breakout sessions, recorded customer presentations, Smartsheet run masterclass sessions, is all available there. So if you missed it, or there's some stuff that you would like to go back and view, then you can certainly do that. What was really exciting from my point of view is that we had 8 customer speakers from across the APAC region join us for that program, including Fox Sports, AG Coombs, Local Government of South Australia, RMIT, and others sharing our stories. So, way back in January of this year, when we were just getting started in the APAC region, one of the things that we really wanted to do was to encourage, build out a customer community and encourage our local customers to share their stories, because I know that's really helpful for everybody to have a local perspective. So we really appreciate the speakers that joined us at our APAC Engage event, and again, we'd love to have more of you do that, because feedback is that it's super helpful for everybody. So yeah, look, those folks shared their Smartsheet experiences and perspectives. It's always interesting to hear about how different folks are using Smartsheet, but also how they're navigating all the relevant challenges that we have, particularly in the current environment. So yeah, I'd encourage you to go and check those out if you haven't. As Laura said, I wanted to take the opportunity to tell you a little bit today about our early adopter program. So if you are someone who's interested in testing out some of our newest capabilities before they're released to the general public, this program might interest you particularly, and it's available for you to sign up to. So the program gives you the opportunity to both test as well as provide feedback on our new capabilities before they're released. And your feedback goes directly to our product teams, helps drive improvements going forward, but also helps prioritize new feature development in the future as well. So there's a lot to come on the product roadmap front. A lot of that as well was provided at the APAC Engage event. So there are some specific product roadmap sessions that you can view in that recorded content. But if you're interested in joining our early adopter community, you simply need to be a licensed user on a business, enterprise, or premier plan. And then to sign up, you just need to visit the URL, which again, you should be able to see on the screen now and in the chat. And we'll also include that URL in the follow-up email that we send out post this user group session. Lastly, for me, I'd like to encourage all of you to ask questions of our team throughout the session today, and from our presenters. We've got a team on hand to answer your questions. Anything we don't get to in the user group session itself, we will follow up with you. We're always looking for folks to share their stories, as I said, at future user groups. It is very valuable. So we're currently working on building out our 2021 user group schedule. So please do let us know if you'd like to be a part of those sessions and sharing your experiences. You can also reach out to Alex de Blasio, who manages our Asia Pacific Customer Success Organization. You can reach out to Alex at any time with anything further that you might need, and at usergroups@smartsheet.com. So with that, thanks for joining us once more, and I'll hand back to Laura.
Thank you, Nigel. Very good. Well, let's move straight into it. So Radhika from Western Sydney University, over to you.
Thank you, Laura. Could I just share my screen if that's all right? Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Radhika Bhandari. I'm the Senior Manager of Student Operations at Western Sydney University. And I currently manage three areas of the university. Luckily for me, when I joined utilizing Smartsheet last year, I was an examinations coordinator. So I was one of the most critical areas of the university. Nobody wants to hear about it. Exams, results, progression. It's quite critical part of the university, and it's very high impact. And since I've started utilizing Smartsheet, I even got promoted. So here am I now managing three more teams. Now, welcome to my life cycle of Smartsheet. Why I call it as a life cycle, because for me, it has been a journey, not just utilizing Smartsheet. As you can see, life before Smartsheet was not easy for me. I had lots of emails, workflows, and lots of spreadsheets. There's this amazing love about Excel and Access and MS Project and other tools that, operationally one uses. And as you get new staff, new teams, staff rotate, that became just a massive process. And just like everyone, we would utilize things like, Office, SharePoint side. But yes, you can see, you can collaborate, you can utilize it too. But how would you know who touched the spreadsheet, who worked on which column, did what? So there were a lot of areas where I was really struggling. And then it frustrated me more because I realized that there were more operational issues.
Sorry to interrupt you. The slides aren't clicking through. So we're just on the title slide. There we go.
Can you see that?
We can see slide 2.
Okay.
You just pop into present mode.
Which I have. Okay, I'm not sure why it's not. Well, I might just do it like that. That's better because I have it in slide mode, but not sure why it's not showing. Would you mind if I just go ahead?
Yeah, no problem. If you just skip through that way, just so we can see.
Is that better?
Thank you.
Yeah. So as you can see, there were a lot of emails and there were a lot of Excel spreadsheets and other tools that everybody was utilizing. And I was here struggling, trying to, work with these emails and workflows and approvals. And there I was in search on Google, trying to find a tool that could really help me streamline as little as something like a timeline of activities that, numerous staff members in my team had to action because, often with the workload and in a high critical impact area, you would miss activities because you're on constant roll. And furthermore, I realized that there was not only the issue of, having one tool, there were other related issues. So who viewed or changed information on a sheet? The amount of time my team was spending across checking an email, entering it on an Excel spreadsheet, or sharing something on a SharePoint side. A lot of time was spent in looking on information. Then came to the reporting part of it, and things just got escalated and escalated. And while I was looking for it, we started utilizing Office Teams and realized there was this tool called Smartsheet. And that's where I started to utilize a package and, worked on a 30-day trial. Funnily enough, in 5 days, I fell in love with the system. I thought, here I go. I can't believe there's a tool that does everything. And the only thing I told my boss was, why not Smartsheet? So I didn't go to my boss saying why I need this tool. I challenged the status quo and went, why not Smartsheet? I have this tool that does all these things. And I can achieve that from one sheet. What do you think about it? And that was a starting point or a conversation starter. Luckily enough, soon after getting approval to utilize Smartsheet, we had the COVID situation where the new normal, where everybody was working from home virtually. Staff were confused. As you would understand, students, were studying from home, teaching was home, and even exams went from face-to-face environment. 150,000 exam sittings at the university would manage a year with more than 41 exam rounds suddenly went online. Here I, as university staff, managing the examinations team, but also as a current university student, was facing the dilemma of, okay, now I have to study online, I have to work online. And what was transformational was not only could I utilize Smartsheet as a benchmark, it more became as a BAU process that would help us cope through this new normal. I didn't have to worry about a timeline sitting somewhere in an Excel folder in a drive that's not accessible, but something that was easily accessible anywhere, anytime. In terms of once started utilizing, who all contributed utilizing Smartsheet in my portfolio. So we started from 1 person to 3 to hundreds, and the goal is to reach thousands in the university so that we can scale it, because as we utilize the product more, what frustrates me now is I have access. Why can't you fix the sheet yourself? Oh, just realize we don't have the enterprise agreement. So here I go where, we have changed the mindset of the organization, starting from 1 person to 3 to 10 to 50. I've put a screenshot. This is just as if I've used it for my boss here. And as you can see, her actions are 11,622 times. For me, that's 11,622 times. She's probably self-served herself for information rather than sending me or an email or asking me for that information. The model that I feel we operate is, if you go to Coles and Woolies, there was a time when you would go and get your groceries, but more and more, it's more of self-service, of information. And I think Smartsheet for me has been a tool that could help us self-serve. For me, Smartsheet, as you can see, the number of actions that I've had since we've had it. So we got the product last year. It just represents how much we have utilized the tool. And it's a great success of not being utilized. We just have 1 license and we have 3 users. And you can see what are the tools that we utilize, and to be able to report on that on our user and share it with other areas of the universities is really reflective. So as you can see, we went from December 2019, so January 2020, 6 users to 197 collaborators. For me personally, I think that's massive. That's the number of times people have collaborated, worked together on one tool. How often would you see that in a complex organization where people not only work in one area, they work remotely, they work at different locations. So I think to have achieved that in itself has been a great, success. Lastly, how to convince people around was the most difficult thing, and to make people change and, utilize a tool. One thing I could say is stay persistent. I have been persistent from day one that I first used my 30-day trial and realized, this is the tool and I have to give it a go. One thing we also realized throughout, for us, Smartsheet has been like a mini project in the university for our team. So starting with 1 person using it, how can I identify an early adopter in my team? I know there's some people that don't like change, but hang on, there's 1 person in my team that loves utilizing new tools. So let me bring them on board. And change is inevitable. So, stop holding yourself back and just go for it is what I've realized utilizing the product. Laura, would you like me to show you some examples of how we have utilized Smartsheet?
Well, that'd be brilliant. Thank you.
So can everyone see this sheet?
Yes.
So this is the first sheet we prepared on Smartsheet, or the reason we got Smartsheet. So we had this humongous timeline of activities, daily activities that were critical and that had high impact that needed to be done in our team. And it was nothing but an Excel spreadsheet, which told you what session the university was running on, what's the activity about, how critical that, what category it, referred to, what was a start date and what was an end date and things like that, who was responsible and things like that. Now, this sheet was a basis where we wanted everyone to collaborate on it and see who was doing the work. Once we utilized on Smartsheet, one thing we could do was send reminders. So no more me as a manager had to remind everyone, you have to do this task. It would automatically send a reminder, hello, weekending, can you please action these items? So again, one email less, one chasing up less to do amongst a team of 10 or 20 or 30. The other thing that worked really well for us was to be anytime go in a card view and look at different sessions or look at, and I'll just probably change that. So I could look at different sessions. So at any time, if my boss asked me, Radhika, we are thinking of not having universities quarters and moving them to terms or something else, they could self-serve that information. Half of them had, access to it, view only. Help yourself to that information. Nobody had to ask anyone. People could make strategic decisions based on all this information being readily available. And lastly, what worked really, really well was when staff wanted to take day off or when we had a critical project that we had to fit in, we could go in the calendar view and say, hang on, Hannah, let's look at what's up this week for you. Sorry. Let's see what's up for this week as a task lead for you. Do you think it's a good idea to take leave? I don't think so. You might have some critical tasks that are due this week. So again, giving a whole new perspective to the operational staff to make their own decisions and look at the more holistic approach to a task. It could have been just an Excel sheet of you have this task due this date, but what it has ended up becoming is a more holistic element of self-managing, thinking proactively, and helping us perform better resourcefully. One thing that really worked for us was the ability to create little forms without having to trouble our IT or our web team. And just, I had, as soon as we had COVID, we had to ask all our international students, are you here or are you there, for us to organize your exam online? And all I could do was create a quick form and send it on and just ask students, can you tell me where you are? Are you here? Are you in China? Are you in India? Are you in Nepal? Where exactly is your geographical location so that we can reach out to you or, hope you undertake your exam? Imagine that to be an email, a student replying back to that email, a staff member entering that email on an Excel spreadsheet, then me having to share that spreadsheet with another 5 people or another 10 areas, all gone in a one-step process. During our online exam, as you can see, we have a lot of collaborators. We created this cheat sheet for our ITDS team and helps involve them in utilizing Smartsheet. And the idea of that was you have 5 seconds to answer a student call over the phone with our new online exam process. How could you answer that? Well, you could just look at the keyword and at any given time, click on the link and it would take you to the vendor's website with the response. Now, had I to create a knowledge base for that, I would have to run it as a project, involve the project management officer, have a whole team build resources, have a platform, and then work through it. We could do that in minutes. We could, in half an hour, my team could build this sheet and share it with our service desk staff and help them self-service that information at any time and click and go, okay, I have a student on the phone who wants to reset their password on another vendor's product. This is a link and this is how you do it. So as you can see, it has been transformational in how we have not only changed our mindset on how we operate. So Smartsheet has not only made things easier for us to operate on, but I think it's more of how we can improve. Resource management is an issue in every organization. We have less people, more work. And to be very honest, to deal with this reality, all you can do is have a great product that help you achieve that. So yes, I have my own little Smartsheet spiel. Usually, this is what I do. Sometimes when people come and say, "What is a Smartsheet?" and can you tell me more about it? It has really helped myself and my entire team, even though we have just 3 lessons at any given point of time. How much they have learned utilizing the tool and the benefits that I've had has been tremendous. So, and a huge shout out to Annie as well. And one thing I would say as a user that has been great is that, the staff, so Vanessa, Annie, everyone has been really approachable and available, which I think as a business really stands out that, you have a team that, you could call and just say, I don't know how to create this sheet. Could you help me? If it was an Excel sheet, I might have to Google. But this becomes more easier because I could just sometimes just send an email, say, look, I'm stuck. I don't know how to use it. So yeah, thank you.
Radhika, thank you so much. I've got a couple of questions for you, and really appreciate you giving us a bit of a glimpse sort of under the hood there, and also taking us through those slides. One of the slides you showed at the start said, why Smartsheet? And I'm really interested just in learning how you went about getting that buy-in from the senior leadership, and how did you convince them that this was the tool to go forth and build out your various processes upon?
Yeah, thank you, Laura. I think one of the biggest thing was to identify a problem and giving a solution. Our biggest problem at the time was less people, more work, missing deadlines, managing approvals, workflows, and all those things. And the idea behind this was, here's a problem. I had the 30-day trial. I actually uploaded our timesheet into the platform in the free trial. And I showed my boss how I could utilize a free tool, at the time in 30 days and build something in 5 days. And that did everything that I would require. And then the idea was, well, as of now, it's just a 5-day trial, and this is what I've done. Imagine if we have it, what we could have achieved. The other thing was to, I think end of the day, it's about, I think resource is the biggest key taker, how you can convince, things can become operationally easy and seamless. Is the biggest key point. So for my boss, it was like, it's not that we need this. It was more of, why not we should have a tool that would help us improve. Sorry, Laura, you are on mute.
Thank you. Thanks. So how did you then go about getting that adoption? So you demonstrated via that one example that it was going to be a useful tool. And then how did the collaboration sort of take hold from there?
So I think the biggest thing was, at the time we had this project where we had hundreds of academic staff that we needed information on. And usually in an ideal world, it would be, dear academic, can you tell me, is your exam multiple choice or is it face-to-face? How many answer booklets would you require? Would you have these many questions? What would be the duration of your exam? And imagine having all that information being collected either in an Excel spreadsheet or in an email, or that Excel spreadsheet going to 200 academics from 5 admin staff, then coming back to them, then coming to my team, then spending time collaborating. And the idea was, here's a link. Nobody has to do anything. Just complete it. That's it.
Yeah.
And I think for staff, it was more, you're telling me I just have to share a link? I don't have to enter it anyway? No, you don't have to enter it. Nobody needs to know. And guess what? If an academic doesn't complete, I'll just keep on sending them reminders from the tool automatically. And I think this is where we could collaborate. Staff, I think one of the biggest thing is the transparency, Laura, it brings. For a timeline to be visible to not only an internal team, but to the related stakeholders, the ability to have public view so that I don't even have to give access to it. Those elements have really helped people collaborate, but I think it's about choosing your battles. So go with something Easy wins or early wins. If you think there's something that could go in a form and you could just get people to collaborate on it, and it takes away the manual work or time that they would spend, I think this is the most easiest way to convince people.
Definitely.
Collaborate. Yeah.
And the other thing that really stood out for me was that transition to online learning as well, and online exams, especially that was fast tracked by COVID this year. So
Yeah.
can you talk a little further about that transition and how Smartsheet supported that, whether, I know you showed us the example of the form as well, and that made it really easy to see where people were located and what sort of learning they required. Are there any other examples you can share?
That's right. So with the online exam, we had more than 200, 300 academics, and we had more than 30,000 students that had to sit exam online in a very short time. We had a new vendor on board that had to provide us an online exam platform, and we had a lot of information we needed. Suddenly you're talking about exams being paper based, and 800,000 impressions printed a year to everything being online. There's a lot of material, there's a lot of background work. And what stood out was to be able to have a tool where I could tell all 200 academics, or we could have workflows with different deans and deputy deans all on one sheet to be able to view that information. We could have approvals and workflows. So we could say, okay, academic A has advised us there are 150 students and they require a 2-hour exam, and it has to be done online on this date. Can you, as a deputy dean, confirm this? Not an email, it was just an approval button that they could just click from their email and it's done. So a lot of that ability of not having 10 other staff join that process and, knocking doors and going, oh, can you please answer that email? Or, can you please provide me approval? So that all became really seamless throughout the project. That has been the most transformational project for the university. We had a task force of 92 people. So that cheat sheet that I showed you earlier was not only for ITDs, it was for anyone that was helping a student, survive through an online exam.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. There's a couple of other questions coming through, and this is an interesting one. What's your biggest frustration with your organisation regarding Smartsheet?
That as of now, I can't have everyone on board. If I want, I would love to have all my university operational teams and academics, everyone have access to it, because I think how it has transformed us and our portfolio and others. We can see, so from what I know, I already have the marketing team that has met and are on board and they want to utilize. So I think every new tool or change is like a revolution. It just takes a bit of time. So my biggest frustration is the impatience to be having less people and not others. But I think it's just the part where you have to convince people to come on board can be frustrating. But I think once they see the benefits of it, as long as you're persistent, that I believe that this tool can do the difference, it can change mindsets.
Yeah. Good stuff. Thank you. And thank you, Mark Weeks, for that question as well. Another, flipping that question around, can you tell us about what you like the most, what your favorite feature is? And I know you mentioned a few during your presentation, but what do you think has really provided the most value to you?
I think the best feature personally has been the ability to create forms. And it has really changed. I think what has been transformational is when I see the mindset of my staff that, often in a traditional world, they would go, I'm going to ask so-and-so to provide me this information. And I think their mindset has changed to, I don't want to spend time entering that information on a sheet. I'll just create a quick form myself and ask them to complete that information. So I think the form feature has been really good for us. Something my favorite.
Time saving. Okay, and I think we've got time for one last question, and then we better hand over to Cicero. The final question is, have you had to address lack of drill down functions than say Power BI?
We had a Power BI integration for one of our sheets. So I don't think we had any issues as such. I think we had Annie to help us with few teams to help it set it up and the integration. So it was quite seamless, to be very honest.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you so much once again, Radhika. That was
Thanks
super
for having me.
interesting. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
So, all right, so I would now like to introduce Cicero, who I mentioned earlier is our Senior Global Product Readiness Manager. And today he's going to take us through a live calendar app demonstration. So Cicero, without further ado, over to you.
Awesome. Well, hello, everybody. And Radhika, you gave me just a great lead into what I want to show today. So that's really exciting. Here's kind of the same idea that Radhika was talking about as far as classes and things. And interestingly enough, I did this without even talking to her. But this is just my class list. So internally, I give classes to all different Smartsheet people about our products. And here's a list of all of those classes that I have. Now, how do I present that to people so that they can sign up for these classes, know what the classes are? Could I share the sheet? Sure, I could. Could I publish the sheet? Yep, I could do that too. But I could first go to change my view, just like Radhika showed you, and I'm going to go to calendar view. Now, here's an example of using just our calendar view to show that list of classes. And you can see how I did it. Now, if everyone's wondering, how did he get those colors in there? That's conditional formatting. Conditional formatting is able to do that. But if you notice, the only thing that is, the only thing that is showing here is my primary column. The primary column is in here. And what I did with my primary column was I created a formula to say, add these three columns together to show them so I could show more stuff. But that's not the experience I want my customers that are signing up for these classes to have. I want them to have the ability to see something like this. I want to show them my classes in a calendar view with more information on one of our dashboards. And this is one of the Smartsheet dashboards that I'm showing. And so now you can see all the different classes. I've broken it up by color as far as level. I've taken, and you can see here, and I've also added the ability here to click and sign right up for the class. So they can do all of this right from that calendar that I've now published on my dashboard. So that's this. This is calendar view. The difference between what you could see with the sheet and now having it ability to interact and have it as part of your dashboard. Now, how did I get there? Calendar app is a premium app, and you get to it if you have access with your organization from the launcher on the right-hand side, this little waffle menu here. And when you click on that, you'll see the calendar. And calendar app, then I go to it. And I'm just going to filter it to just my stuff. What I was seeing was a whole list of things that were shared to me also in the calendar area. I only want to see these. So this happens to be the one I created, and I'll jump to that in a second, but I just want to show you how it starts. So if I go to a new, add new, the first thing I'm asked for is to select the sheet that I'm going to use. Now notice that I have the ability to select a sheet or a report to use as the basis to make this calendar. That's powerful. All right, I can bring a number of different class reports together and then use it on a calendar. So different sheets managed by different people. That's what we can do with this. But I just selected one. So I would go in and I'd select a sheet. And once I do that, then let's get into here. The next view that I would see, and I'm going to back up here because it always starts at the end of your setup. Here, you see my next step after selecting that was, all right, what view do you want to start with? Now you can change them, but what do you want to start with? Well, I want to start with a monthly view. And then from there, it says, all right, what do you want to show? What should be on here? How are you going to do that? And you notice that my task names are trainings. I want to add the description column. Now remember, this is all based on what you're seeing in this area here. I've got description column and the trainings, all of that I want to show on this calendar view. So I'm going through and it says, what dates do you want to use? Now, in the most part, for my example, I only used a single date. So think of it as a session, right? But you could have it go across, and I'm going to show you how both of those look. But you would say, I want to use a start date. This is my end date, and it will then organize those for us. I can also group if I want to. How do I want to group things together? I chose not to, and you'll see what I did. Going to the next, it says, do you want to add more of those columns? You've got a number of columns. What would you like to add? And you can see you can add quite a bit of information into these cells on your calendar. I don't want to overdo it, but you're seeing that I want to show the level of it. I want to show what product I'm going to be doing, and I want to have them be able to register. Now notice, I'm just saying register here. That's the column name, and I'm going to show you what I did. That is not part of the app, but it's something you can do on a sheet when you use the app. So I'm going to show you that. And so I decide what I'm going to show. And then I go here and it says, all right, do you want to color these things so you can stand them out? And I go, yes, I want to color them by level. So beginners will look like one, intermediate and advanced will all stand out. So when somebody's looking at my calendar, it will pop for them. That's what I want to see as part of that whole dashboard experience. After that, I then go in and it gives me a little more options. What date do you want to start? Sundays or Mondays? What's the quarter start of the month of the calendar? Do I ignore weekends? Do I add weekends in? Those are choices I get to have in here. And there's a number of other side questions that I can answer. But you notice I'm not selecting any of those for just this example. And then it summarizes it for us. It says, okay, this is what we're going to be showing you. And once I do that, and I click update, now what it does is it goes in and it then makes that calendar the way that we want to see it. And this is how then it would show up. This is just calendar view. Right? And so what you can see is my different colors for levels. You can see what I've added in here, and then you have that click here. Remember, register was a column I had, and I have those organized. Now, what I also did was I said, I want you to sort them by the column here. And Smartsheet doesn't do time. We don't have a time concept in our date columns. But what I can do is create a drop down of 1 through 8, for instance, for periods. And I could say 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. is 1, 9 to 10 is 2, and so on. And then if I use the 1, 2, 3, 4, like I did here, I can organize them. And so they will be organized on that entire sheet. Right? So that is how we can see these things and lay them out. Now let's just look back for a second at some of those things that I did to enhance this experience. And here's my normal sheet. Okay. Now, if you look, you go, well, wait a minute, you had a form. You're right. The form was this sign up. Okay, the sign-up sheet is here. Everyone that fills out that form is going to fill out these rows. That's what's going to be in these rows here. But it's coming, I'm able to do that on the calendar app. I couldn't do that in the calendar view that I was showing. But if I go back to my calendar, and I want to show you a couple things. Click here. When I click here, not only did I use a form to now collect those people who are going to sign up, and if you've been watching some of these other user groups, you know that once this gets submitted, I can be using an automation to let me know I have new registration or ask them more questions, all of those types of things from using the form. But I also pre-filled out some of the form by just clicking on the calendar. And you see the beginner, the foundation, that the way that happened is it's called the query string. I was able to make a URL for that date that said, fill that part of the form in. And I'll show you that by unhiding those columns. And those are here. And this is just an advanced, so I'm giving, I see, people want to see all different ranges of things. I've showed you some of the beginning things. Now, for those people who are more advanced, here's something you should be trying. This is the form URL, but I've added the ability to fill in certain pieces of that form so they don't have to. And then what I've done is I created just a hyperlink column with this URL in it so that when they said click here, it did just that. And all of that was displayed here in the calendar app. And once that happens, now if I go back to this view in the calendar and I go to the sharing icon, I have two different ways that I can share this calendar app. I can do it this way where I'm sharing individual people. Or I could publish it. And if I publish it, I can put it on the dashboard. And in either case, once I do that, not only can I see what's there, let me close that so you can see it again, but I can click on those and actually see the individual information. And notice I can add or modify the information if I give people the right permission right there in the calendar on the dashboard. That's what we are able to do with this. So all different types of things, but taking that same idea of the class and how do I then, what's the best experience for me to provide to my my customers, my internal customers, for instance, on doing this. And this is exactly what I do internal to Smartsheet. Okay, this is how people sign up for my classes when I'm doing this. So hopefully this gave you not only some ideas on sheets and the calendar of view, but also taking it to the next step and seeing calendar app and how you can then integrate those two going forward. And before I finish, I want to just talk about the one question that came in about Power BI. You can also integrate Power BI, just like Tableau, in Smartsheet dashboards. And if you do that, when you get the published link for those vises, you would use the web content widget and be able to actually put those in Smartsheet. So taking advantage of the power of Smartsheet and the power of Power BI or Tableau or something like that. So just a quick aside, because I think it's so cool. And now we'll open it up for any questions, or if we don't have time for that, we'll be able to help you later on.
Thank you, Cicero. That was great. I always learn something watching your demonstrations. There are a couple of comments coming through there. There's a little bit of love there for calendar app. A couple of people really impressed with the features that they're seeing. Somebody mentioned the thing that they like about calendar app is the ability to see all of the to group the items, tasks, and milestones by category. So I think, yeah, that's another benefit. What else have we got here? Is it available on an enterprise plan? Is a question that has come through. Matthew Fraser.
That is, I think it depends on that. I'll let you answer that one.
I can cover that, Laura. It's Calendar app it's a premium application that is a separate subscription over and above the enterprise or business plans. If you're interested in finding out more about that, then you can reach out to your customer success manager or account manager or account team or anyone on this call.
Okay, any other questions for Cicero? I will just say there's a whole wealth of information on Calendar app as well on our Learning Centre. So if you visit the Learning Centre and you just type Calendar app into the search bar, there's a lot of articles and there's videos you can watch. So if you want to go and do a little bit more exploring on your own, there is a ton of information up on our website and also via our community group as well. Okay, actually one last question, which I think we can just squeeze in. So this is from Frank Falco. Thank you for your question. Can you show how you did the click here hyperlink from the data in the other column?
I can do that. So Frank, what it takes is a couple different things. First, I had to get the URL of the form from my sign up sheet. So going, getting this URL, right? Then what you do, and there's a help article on it. If you look up query string in help, you will get this. And if I look here at this list, what I did is I actually created a formula to bring all of this together to give me the right URL. And it's going across that row to bring in the information on what date is it, what's the level, those types of things, but I'm using this question mark here. The question mark in the beginning, it follows right at the end of the URL for the form, is what says this is going to be added to the form. And so I put that all together, and then what I did manually was I copied this URL to this cell, and I went down to hyperlink, pasted that in, and then just typed in click here. And by doing that, you then are able to make a hyperlink, because I hate putting long URLs in things. And now this is what you use. Remember, I showed register on the calendar. And when they click there, that's what does the form. It fills in those pieces. And if we look at this top of this URL, you'll see that right here is the question mark. And what that is that's saying everything to the right of this is going to be information I'm going to put into the form. And you will say what the field is in the form that you want to fill in, and then what you want it to fill in. And then it does that. So you can help people do that. Okay. Hopefully that helped.
Very good. Thank you, Cicero. Okay, well, I think we better leave it there. So big thank you once again for the demonstration. James, if we can just pop the slide deck back up, that would be terrific. While James is doing that, I just want to remind everybody that we will be sharing the recording of today's presentation. So that will be coming out to you in an email, which you will receive tomorrow. And in that email, there's also a feedback survey. So we invite you to share any feedback that you have with us on today's session via that form. Okay. Oh, still waiting for your slide deck to come up there, James. That's okay. We will just press on. Last thing I wanted to call out just before I pass to Nigel is that, oh, there we are. Thank you very much. So last thing I wanted to call out is the next user group is scheduled for the 10th of February next year. It'll be at the same time, 11 a.m, and there'll be more details to come on that soon. And if you are interested in presenting at a future user group, definitely let us know by emailing either your rep or the user group's email address that you see on the screen now. So finally, before we wrap up, Nigel, I'll just pass over to you if you have any closing remarks before we wrap up.
Yeah, thanks, Laura. And again, thanks everyone for joining us today. From my point of view, I think I just wanted to say a big thank you to everyone in this group and in our community that's joined us throughout the year. You know, as we've spoken about, we launched our Sydney office with folks on the ground here in Sydney back in January, and we've grown our team throughout the year. Hopefully, you as customers and end users have seen the benefits of having a local team here. We've certainly got a lot out of and learnt a lot from our local customers from having that direct local engagement and interaction. And the exciting thing from our point of view is that as we move into next year, we're continuing to grow our team with more resources to help you. So that's the first thing, but that wouldn't be possible without your support and ongoing engagement throughout the year. And we're really committed to growing our local user community and customer community and creating connections and interactions. So thank you for that. I wanted to say a special thanks to Radhika again for taking the time to share her experiences. Obviously, moving to 150,000 exam sittings immediately going online is a pretty big undertaking. So glad we were able to help with that. I especially liked Radhika's comment that I think her boss had interacted 11,622 times with the platform. So that's 11,622 times that the boss has self-served to access information and not come to Radhika to ask for information. I think that's a pretty neat way to look at it. But ultimately, what I really liked about Radhika's presentation was this concept of really empowering people to self-manage and think proactively, and really using the platform as an enabler for people in the organisation. So I thought that was really neat. And then also a big thanks to Cicero again. We really enjoy your presentations and the passion you bring to the platform, and showing people how to use the calendar app, particularly with some of those more advanced functions. I think there's definitely interest in that from the group, so really appreciate that. Look, lastly, I just wanted to say to wish all of you and your families a happy and safe Christmas period. I hope you all get to have a great break, and we're really looking forward to continuing to partner with you in 2021 and hopefully have a lot more joint success together. So thank you all very much. Enjoy your day, and we look forward to talking to you shortly. Thank you.
Thank you, Nigel. Thank you, everybody. 2 minutes to spare. Look at that. See you all next time. Bye.